Welcome to Truth Stream. We have the honor of being with Mitchell. Is Gruber, is that the proper way to say it?
Mitchell Nicholas Gerber, like baby food.
With the Nicholas. That I love that. Great.
Saint Nicholas. Yep.
He reached out to us, and I saw the email, and I'm familiar with his work. And he's an investigative journalist for over 22 years, exposing child trafficking, organ harvesting. He's 5 hours from the border and of where this actually goes on, and he's exposing what happens to the Falun Gong, and it's mind-blowing stuff that's as all this is exposed. Everything he's been working so hard to expose for the last 2 decades is coming to fruition in a way. The world's going to see this, and he's been on the front lines for over 2 decades. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Oh, Joe, Scott, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure's ours.
Let's start with a little bit about how you even got involved in this in the first place, and then we'll go from there.
No, sure. I was at a very prestigious university in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm an American citizen, originally from South Africa. I immigrated to the United States in 1995, Joe, and I was the first person in my family to be an American citizen. I was attending a prestigious business school. I was about to intern, I was interning at a very prestigious investment firm. So I had money on my mind, I had women on my mind, I had power and authority on my mind. I was really going that route. And one day I wasn't feeling so good. I was partying a lot, I was drinking a lot, I was enjoying myself a bit too much, which was okay. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll is not, you have to put the fun back in dysfunctional somehow, you know what I mean, to take the edge off. You can't always be straight-laced, if you know what I mean. We're not perfect, Hate the sin, not the sinner, as the Lord has said. But anyway, so I wasn't feeling so good. I had a back problem. I wasn't sleeping good. So I wanted to try this holistic approach to life. I've always been a believer. Come from a Judeo-Christian family and a traditional religious upbringing. So my faith in God and my faith as a believer doesn't change, and it's non-negotiable, never be compromised. However, I was very fascinated and intrigued by the martial arts and by the traditional holistic modalities of the East, like yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, chiropractic, what do you call it? Acupuncture.
Right.
So one day I was in Athens, Georgia, at the university, and they have a lot of famous rock bands that came out of there, like REM and different bands, and they were holding a festival, a cultural festival of Native American and different foods and arts and crafts. But one booth stood out to me, and I was very attracted to it. So me and my friends, we went up to it, and we took up a flyer, and Falun Dafa, a ancient meditation and spiritual practice. So that's interesting. And I see these people meditating in the park, and from children to adults. And I went into the park and I started to practice these slow-moving exercises. And immediately, guys, I felt my entire spine just open up.
Wow.
And the place that was sore, because I used to gym a lot. I like to gym. I like to be active. Was just really feeling a lot of warmth. And I'm thinking, wow, this is very interesting. I never experienced this before. So I started practicing the exercises. The first exercise, you stretch and you open up the energy channels. Very simple, but yet quite profound. And after the practice, there's 5 exercises involved, 5 standing and 1 sitting meditation. And I was so blissed out. I felt so comfortable. My whole body just was rejuvenated, stress relieved, anxiety relieved. And I think we all need this. And there was nothing cultish about this. There was nothing religious. You didn't have to pay any money. And I love that. I love an organic, natural way of practice. And the philosophy I saw was just truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. It actually correlated to my belief of universal principles of do unto others as others will do unto you. So I went back to the booth feeling fantastic, and I turned to the right and I got a little freaked out, and I saw these images of stop the brutal persecution by the CCP on these innocent Falun Gong practitioners. And I saw all different kinds of military personnel, nurses, doctors, celebrities, business people being tortured. And I'm thinking, what is this? I just came through a really good, blissed out, comfortable session, and now you're showing me this crap. But then I got to realize, I stood there and I'm like, wait a minute, let me just see what this is all about. So I read that the CCP has been persecuting this group of people. 100 million people started to practice these holistic exercises. The healthcare costs were being reduced, millions of dollars of healthcare costs. It was a crime-fighting practice that has been awarded great awards by the Chinese government. So why are they doing this? Then I realized that the CCP declared war on the spiritual practice, knowing full well that by practicing this, all kinds of illnesses, ailments, and injuries were being healed, and millions of dollars of healthcare costs were being reduced. The suicide rates were being reduced. People were living longer, feeling better. The productivity rates in the Chinese factories were being amplified, because when you have a good mind, you have a good work ethic, you have a good product, you have a good service. People enjoy the quality. When you have more of a truthful, tolerant, and compassionate demeanor, your productivity rates go up. Okay, so overall, the life force of China was increasing. However, the CCP, and I got a couple of videos, Joe and Scott, for your audience, just to get a whole picture about it visually. The CCP cracked down on this practice, labeled it as some kind of CIA-backed cult, and then started to send, after brainwashing the population and the world into thinking that it's right to round up these people and reform them and re-educate them, okay, as they do under communist regimes, and send them to these concentration camps. But little did we know, the CCP was sending to the command of an organization of the Chinese military hundreds and thousands of Falun Gong practitioners, Uyghur Muslims, House Christians, and Tibetans, particularly the Falun Gong, 70 to 100 million, more practitioners, more people who are practicing this ancient form of discipline than the Chinese Communist Party, 30 million more than the CCP's membership, the entire communist regime. So that is extremely threatening to the CCP control. And so they were sending these people to state-mandated hospitals, at least 3,000 to 4,000 since 2001, cutting out their organs while alive, and then selling the organs to fuel a multi-billion-dollar business. And I have a clip to share just to get started.
Please.
Like.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a new form of evil. And then we're going to get into understanding how the CCP has infiltrated into the United States and colluding with Planned Parenthood, the World Health Organization. So, folks, it's serious. But here we go. Let me play the clip. I hope the sound is coming in loud and clear.
Yep.
The first are good.
In the late 90s, Chinese government surveys said up to 70 million people were practicing Falun Gong daily. Health bills were decreasing, crime rates were falling, and morality was rising. So why were these people targeted for elimination and organ harvesting? Mona Ye was one of the millions meditating in parks every day.
There was a park across the street from my house. Because the first exercise site couldn't hold so many people anymore, it divided into the second, the third, the fourth. So at every street corner and in every park, you could see people practicing Falun Gong.
There was from different kind in society. It was many policemen and military.
It was just fundamental part of society at that time, and everybody knew somebody who practiced.
Falun Gong is a traditional practice of self-cultivation, a practice of slow-moving exercises, meditation, and studying of the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance, and trying to adopt those into your life.
While morning exercises had always been popular in China, Falun Gong brought more than just health benefits.
For thousands of years, the Chinese people have believed in Buddhas and Taos and becoming an immortal. Falun Gong really dared to talk about these things. And immediately people took it to heart. Oh, the true ancient good things of China have come back.
However, after 50 years of political campaigns to destroy traditional beliefs, any revival of spirituality was seen as a threat to communist rule.
Since I was 11, I experienced all of the Chinese Communist Party's campaigns. Group after group of good people were targeted. There was no faith, no truth. Falun Gong stood in stark contrast with communist ideology. So it would be very hard for it to be tolerated by the CCP.
With more practitioners than members in the Communist Party, the party chief, Jiang Zemin, saw it as a threat to his power and overruled the government support of Falun Gong.
Jiang Zemin issued order, set up special office called 610 Office, in charge of nationwide campaign of persecution.
Known as China's Gestapo, the 610 agency was above the law and could use any and all means necessary to achieve its sole mission, to eliminate Falun Gong. The nationwide campaign began July 1999.
And what you're seeing by 1999, Joe and Scott and everybody listening, the CCP just completely banned this spiritual movement, Falun Gong, after 70 to 100 million people practicing, 30 million, outnumbering the CCP by 30 million people. And that's where you saw the mobile execution vans, the military, the secret police, the gentleman that you saw, he's not even a gentleman, but that evil head of the CCP, Jiang Zemin, who looks like a toad, okay?
Right, totally.
He declared war on the spiritual movement, as well as the Uyghurs, the democratic activists, Hong Kong. He concocted a weapon, a bioweapon, okay? We can get into that for the West. This was all done by that evil head of the CCP in 1999. And there are patents that show this in the military, the deep military bioweapons programs of the CCP, which you can get into later, and how it ties into threatening the American life as we know it and the global freedoms as we know it. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
It's just amazing to me that, you know, we're looking at something that parallels, you know, what's going on in the world today in some ways, that they take something really good and they make it bad. And now we're seeing something in the US with the jab, if you will, something that isn't good, and they're making it look good to people, and they're finally starting to realize. But there's so much manipulation on so many levels. So yeah, let's start talking about how this ties into, you know, what we've seen in the last few years and how, you know, we've been infiltrated in the United States. I think that would be something to talk about. Absolutely.
There's a great publication called the from the Epoch Times, a great editorial publication, Joe, from New York, and it's called "The Communist Spectre is Ruling Our World." I'm not sure if I can get it up on screen for you, but let me see if I can.
Yeah,
let's give it a shot. Let's see, basic. I'm not sure where we can find it. Let's see, how do I get over the screen here? Screen, no. I wish I could show you, but how do we get this up on the screen? Oh, very bad. Okay, I can't really do it, but anyway, I'll read to you. Absolutely. I think this will be fine. This will tie in to the infiltration, particularly political correctness. Now, communist countries have always exercised strict control over speech and thought. Since the 1980s, another form of such control has appeared in the West as thought police use the banner of political correctness to run amok in the media, society, and education system, using slogans and mass criticism to restrain speech and thought. Although many have recognized the inherent wrongness of this control, They have not grasped its ideological origins. So with this infiltration with wokeness, radical leftism, liberalism, the political correctness, together with progress and solidarity, democracy, social justice, this has long been used, these terms have long been used by communist parties. And their superficial meaning is to avoid using language that is discriminatory toward minorities, women, the disabled, and others. So it tugs at the heartstrings of the Americans. Oh, we need to be tolerant. Oh, we need to be compassionate. But Americans have always been tolerant. Americans have always been compassionate, truly. Very few Americans are even racist. I mean, the average American just wants to survive paycheck to paycheck. They don't care about your skin color. They care about how to survive and keep the lights on and food on the table. However, the hidden implication behind political correctness is the classification of individuals into groups according to their status as victims, the victim mentality. Those who are deemed to be most oppressed should be accorded the most respect and courtesy. And this is wrong. This is a judgment rendered solely on one's identity and disregarding, Joe and Scott, the individual conduct and character, which is the basis of identity politics. And this style of thinking is extremely popular in the United States and other Western countries. So with this being said, they have been able to get away with subversion, deception, the infiltration into the education system to infect the mind of the average youth who doesn't understand the cultural Marxism that has infected their minds. Elon Musk and a couple of high status individuals have called it the woke mind virus. And President Trump has even said everything woke turns to shit. Well, this is cultural Marxism. This is critical race theory, dividing, distracting, controlling, and then exterminating the intellectual class, the critical thinking, dismantling discernment, ability to discern what is right from what is wrong. And this has been going on since the 1960s. And Yuri Bezmenov from the KGB is also mentioned about the demoralization aspect. How do you subtly overtake a society of free thinking, common sense and logic, critical thoughts? You demoralize the system. You revolt against God. You sow discord. You incite hate. You weaponize the races. You weaponize gender. You legalize abnormalities, and then you normalize abnormalities as normal. Okay, so you tear down the traditional godly fabric of a nation until it's completely demoralized. Then you take away the guns, and then you send them to slaughter. So this is what communist countries have always done. They sell the good people, the hardworking people, a bill of goods against the common sense, logic, and freedoms of the nation. And that's when you have civil war, strife, cannibalism, famine. I mean, what I can tell you what's going on in China with cannibalism and the control mechanism and the totalitarianism, it's so sinister and so evil. And you can see how the Chinese people have been put into quarantine camps. If it wasn't for the Second Amendment, gentlemen, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, all the Americans would have been marched off to quarantine camps at this moment. Because you still have the guns. And again, a gun doesn't kill a person. A person uses a gun to kill a person. Let's just get that straight. But again, the demonization of good people owning guns for the right to bear arms, and to protect and defend against a corrupt government, a deep state CIA, US Inc. treasonous government, okay, that has interfered in foreign elections, legitimate elections, using a foreign entity like the CCP and others. You have the right to bear arms and protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. It's a constitutional right. But again, many Americans don't know this because they've been demoralized. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope that I answered your question.
Yeah, it's that moral relativity or moral relativism. The whole idea that right and wrong is so in the eye of the beholder, so to speak, and it just breaks down the fabric of everything. And that's, I think, in a nutshell, this whole political correctness and where it's gone. People have lost their moral compass, but or it was taken from them quite strategically and deliberately. But it seems like every time Marxism or communism flourishes, that's at the heart of it. That's the beginning. And then who's to say what's wrong? Harvesting organs or murdering people. It starts to get a little bit blurry for those folks, and
mutilating children for the transgender agenda. I mean, and it's been very challenging to witness this, but you're seeing when you see people buying into it at the level that they are and standing for it, and you see transgender. It's nothing against someone that's made this decision later in life, but when it comes to the children, and they're standing for, and now it's like I even saw a narrative. It was probably a month or two ago. It was some reporter on CNN. Like now the transgenders, now they need to start grabbing their weapons and standing up, and it's just like, what is going on here?
You mentioned Bezmenov, and I mean, he really gave us the play-by-play of what to expect. Anyone who hasn't seen that video really should. It's quite eye-opening, and I think that was in 1976, was it not, or somewhere around then?
Absolutely.
And he really brought it to bear. And I mean, like it's remarkable just how much progress they've made with this agenda in such a short time, and they're so patient. It's a multi-generational plan that you just don't see it until it's too late.
Absolutely. And it started in the 1960s. The communist goals, it was actually a congressional record. Appendix pages 834 to 835 on January 10th, 1963. The current communist goals, an extension of remarks. And this was published by D. Lander Courier, who is, I believe it was a senator at that time, but she dedicated to the purpose of alerting the public to the dangers of communism in America. And I'll just share with you some of the goals at that time to infiltrate into the American Republic. Basically, do away with loyalty oaths, resist any attempt to outlaw the Communist Party, capture one or both of the political parties in the United States, gain control of all the student newspapers, gain control of key positions in radio, TV, and motion pictures, continue discrediting American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. Does this sound familiar? An American communist cell was told to eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings, substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms, control all art critics and directors of art museums. Our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, meaningless art, break down cultural standards of morality by promoting pornography and obscenity in schools, magazines, motion pictures, radio, and TV, eliminate all laws governing obscenity by calling them censorship and a violation of free speech and press. Present the transgender agenda, nothing against homosexuals or transgender, nothing against that. And that's one thing about the left, gentlemen, is that they twist it and they weaponize hatefulness. I don't hate any transgender or homosexual person or a black person. I don't care if you're an Oompa Loompa in the chocolate factory or an alpha and all from the Lord of the Rings, for God's sake. But when you force it, when you force an agenda that is not normal, that is not traditional on our children, and you muddy up the innocence and the purity of the little ones, I have a big problem with that. Yeah. Nowhere should you be teaching sexuality, whether it's straight, whether it's otherwise, to children. Children need to have a natural, traditional evolution and process of childbirth and child growth, and understanding that there's man and a woman, boy and a girl. There's no birthing persons. There's no chest feeders. Biological men can never be women. Okay, biological women can never be men. Okay, I don't want to offend anybody here, but this is the slurs that originated from the communism. Remember, the political identity, the identity politics, the critical race theory, putting one against the other. Oh, there's a war on transgenderism. We hate transgenderism. We want them all to die. So we have to get our AR-15s and destroy the Christians and the Nazis and the fascists. You know, Nazi scum, get off our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. You know, and they burn, loot, and shoot. The Antifa, the radical Black Lives Matter. They're not for Black lives. They're not for children's lives. They're not even for the whole. You know, you have gays against groomers. You have drag queens even saying, keep your children away from this. This has got nothing to do with you. So I take my hat off to the gay community. I take my hat off to the transgender community, those who are really standing up for our children and saying, this is no place for children. Just like straight sex would not be for children. But this is the cultural Marxism that has infiltrated into America to turn the traditional values on their heads and unleash a very depraved way of thinking, which is woke supremacy. As, you know, wokeism, the woke mind virus, as Elon Musk was talking about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, most people want to get along. We don't care what someone does in their bedroom, and we don't need it advertised, and we don't need a small percentage trying to throw their values at everyone else and our children and all these commercials and everything else. We don't want to see it. It doesn't mean we're against gays or transgenders. We just don't need it shown to us at every single turn. It's just,
well, it's a weapon. And I mean, if you look at some of the decisions, the Bud Light marketing campaign and so on, I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that that's going to affect your profits negatively. You know, there's obviously a larger agenda at work here, you know, right. And you see it across the board. I mean, with so many Nike,
Ford,
the list is
Ford,
too, yeah, even Ford
Raptor
jumped in with it. So it's clearly an agenda. It's clearly a political weapon, and it's clearly not about making money. And look at our economy. It's indicative of an economy that's on its last leg anyway. So
yeah,
it's really unfortunate. And yes, I just, you know, this woke supremacy. I mean, they say racism and sexism and the white supremacy. I don't like any race being scapegoated, especially when they've done nothing to add to the genocide of innocent indigenous people in the past. It had nothing to do with my skin or your skin. It's got to do with the content of character.
Right.
And this woke mind virus or this woke supremacy that has been inherited by and blueprinted by the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, the Communist Manifesto, the early European beginnings, okay, with the Bolshevism and all that, you know, the Rothschilds. You want to get into the 13 families, the Rockefellers who backed Mao Zedong. You have Henry Kissinger. You have Bill Gates. You have Anthony Fauci. These are evil people. These are the predators, and we are the prey. I actually sat down with Dr. Peter Breggin, who's the father of psychiatry, and we talked about this. I was going to co-author a book with him in terms of the communist Chinese and the specter of communism, and add to his book because he has been endorsed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dr. Peter McCullough, and I also interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough. I don't know if you guys have interviewed Dr. Peter McCullough. You should. He's a phenomenal man. Okay, great world-leading cardiologist. He was on Joe Rogan. Anyway, and as well as Dr. Vladimir Zelenko, the great Jewish doctor who exposed the bioweapon, COVID-19, which is a bioweapon, and it has been concocted in the Wuhan lab. I talked to Dr. Francis Boyle, who drafted the 1989 Proclamation Anti-Terrorism Act that was passed by Congress under George W. Bush that made all American citizens liable for bioweapons tampering. And that's why Fort Detrick got in trouble and sent the gain of function through Ralph Barrick at North Carolina and NIAID to the Wuhan lab, funded it, and put it into the hands of the mass-murdering Chinese Communist Party. And then Charles Lieber from Harvard, who is also directly related to Epstein, went to China to sell the groundbreaking patents and was charged with six counts of treason. I mean, it's that serious, and then unleashed it into the world. And I came back to China. Like I said, I'm 5 hours from the Chinese border. I'm not here to play. This is not a game. This is a war. I'm lucky I'm doing, you know, I got hit by an energy weapon. I lost my child from the bioweapon shedding. While I was going through the Pfizer documents by Dr. James Thorpe, They knew full well, when you're seeing the patterns and the contracts of the DoD colluding with the CCP, and Pfizer actually admitting about the shedding and the sexual intercourse, that you need to be very careful when you get the jab. You're going to be careful transmitting it. Well, it was transmitted. I mean, I'm in the most highly vaccinated and dangerous areas, because the higher the vaccination rate, the more chances you will get COVID-19. Everyone that has been, majority of cases are COVID positive are vaccinated people. It's the truth. It's all coming out now. We're not demonizing anybody, but the shedding component, and this has been confirmed in the internal documents of Pfizer themselves, caused what was coming out of my wife's body, gentlemen. Okay, I don't have to be so graphic. And it confirmed, and I was doing my podcast at that time. I had to cancel it because I received an energy weapon attack on me. I had certain people in China that were killed, rounded up and killed and sent to labor camps. Okay, this is serious business. There was a military coup at that time as well. I'm not sure if you've heard about the military coup in China. And certain operators around that time when Trump came, and when Trump comes, he brings a contingency of special forces. Well, I met up with certain guys because I just got off the Alex Jones show, the Stu Peters show. I'm close communication with Steve Bannon as well. I was on his show with a doctor who I brought with the oh man, I'm just giving you the receipts here, guys. You know, I'm not here to mess around. I'm not here to waste my time. I was at a child trafficking court with the doctor in a child trafficking court in London. So I listened to the child trafficking MK Ultra victims, etc. But again, I was hit by an energy weapon. At that time, I had to go dark. And I also lost my child to the bioweapon shedding and some friends, and it's not good. A similar occurrence happened when I filed a report with the FBI and the Atlanta Police Department when spies, CCP agents, broke into my car, harassed certain Chinese American citizens because we had all this information and we were about to release some very serious proof that CCP was harvesting alive the innocent Falun Gong petitioners and others in China, and has been fueling this multi-billion-dollar kill-to-order, on-demand genocide. It's like a lobster out of a tank, taking a lobster, cutting it all open right in front of you, and then you just so it's that on-demand, kill-to-order. Reducing waiting times for kidneys, lungs, and hearts to a matter of weeks, to a matter of days, and now a matter of hours. Okay, this is how serious it is. So, being 5 hours away from the Chinese border, I was contacted as well by certain operators, and I just got off the Alex Jones show. It was around 2019, 2020, around that time, in late 2019, just before COVID hit. It was the bioweapon was released by the Wuhan lab in around September, October 2019, by the military. It killed over 400 million people.
What happened?
You just lost him for a minute.
No, that's not for a minute.
You want to hit pause?
Hey guys, yeah, that actually was cut off in the middle of the interview with Mitchell. Our apologies, his apologies, but Zoom has been compromised, and he said it's an honor to share what he did. Deep apologies, and we do want to share his websites. We'll put them below as well, but I want to spell them out for people just in case. So there's www.faluninfo, so faluninfo.net, and then www.stoporganharvesting.org. But we'll put the links below. Scott, anything you wanted to?
Yeah, I just his courage is extraordinary, and his cause is vital, and we're certainly behind it and supportive of it in any way we can, and we hope to pick up the interview where we left off. But this is a bit of a dangerous topic, and he's in a bit of a dangerous situation, to say the least. So for security reasons, that's all we've got for you right now. But stay tuned and keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll be able to resume the interview in the near future.
Yeah, and we just want to let you guys know we were very honored. He actually reached out to us, and and he, like he was talking about his credentials. It's just we're happy to be here and do things the way that Scott and I do them for you. So yeah, it's really, really an honor, and I just pray that he's safe, and that this is exposed at the level it needs to be, because a lot of people hear this stuff and they don't want to hear it. They turn a blind eye. But we need to look at it directly, because this is other human beings. This is children. And anyway, what a warrior. I mean, 20 years. I mean, I can't imagine. I've been awake for a couple of years. I've questioned things, but to be on the front lines of this for 2 decades, that's unimaginable.
In much greater risk than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Really. So
yeah.
It makes my heart swell to know that there's people out there like him fighting, and it's a good example. We all need to fight. So.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks everybody. And we just want to let you know what the quick jump was. And so anyway, God bless. Take care. Thanks for watching us. Appreciate it.